Greetings from Exam Heist. We have identified important exam questions. Practice these important questions 2-3 times to get 100% success in exam. Subscribe and comment, share PDF in the below comment section to get PDF of these 40 important questions. If you want to access full dump, please visit www.examheist.com. We have 24/7 support available for your doubts and exam queries.
Question 1. Refer to the exhibit. Users in the branch network of 2001. DB80464 report that they cannot access the internet. Which command is issued in IPv6 router EIGRP100 configuration mode to solve this issue? Option A. Issue the EIGRP stub command on R1. Option B. Issue the no EIGRP stub command on R1. Option C. Issue the EIGRP stub command on R2. Option D. Issue the no EIGRP stub command on R2. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option B. Issue the no EIGRP stub command on R1. Question 2. R2 has a locally originated prefix 192. 168, 130, 024 and has these configurations. What is the result when the root mapout command is applied toward an eBGP neighbor R1? 1, 1, 1, 1. By using the neighbor 1, 1, 1, 1 root mapout command. Option A. R1 sees 192, 168, 130, 024 is 2 AS hops away instead of 1 AS hop away. Option B. R1 does not accept any routes other than 192, 168, 130, 024. Option C. R1 does not forward traffic that is destined for 192, 168, 30, 024. Option D. Network 192, 168, 130, 024 is not allowed in the R1 table. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option A. R1 sees 192, 168, 130, 024 is 2 AS hops away instead of 1 AS hop away. Question 3. Which method changes the forwarding decision that a router makes without first changing the routing table or influencing the IP data? Plain. Option A. Non-broadcast multi-access. Option B. Packet switching. Option C. Policy-based routing. Option D. Forwarding information base. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option C. Policy-based routing. Question 4. Refer to the exhibit. An engineer configures a static route on a router. But when the engineer checks the route to the destination, a different next hop is chosen. What is the reason for this? Option A. Dynamic routing protocols always have priority over static routes. Option B. The metric of the OSPF route is lower than the metric of the static route. Option C. The configured AD for the static route is higher than the AD of OSPF. Option D. The syntax of the static route is not valid, so the route is not considered. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is Option C. The configured AD for the static route is higher than the AD of OSPF. Question 5. Refer to the exhibit. An engineer is trying to generate a summary route in OSPF for network 10.0.0.0.8, but the summary route does not show up in the routing table. Why is the summary route missing? Option A. The summary address command is used only for summarizing prefixes between areas. Option B. The summary route is visible only in the OSPF database, not in the routing table. Option C. There is no route for a subnet inside 10.0.0.0.8, so the summary route is not generated. Option D. The summary route is not visible on this router, but it is visible on other OSPF routers in the same area. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. There is no route for a subnet inside 10.0.0.0.8, so the summary route is not generated. Question 6. Refer to the exhibit. An engineer is trying to block the route to 192.168.2.2 from the routing table by using the configuration that is shown. The route is still present in the routing table as an OSPF route. Which action blocks the route? Option A. Use an extended access list instead of a standard access list. Option B. Change sequence 10 in the route map command from permit to deny. Option C. Use a prefix list instead of an access list in the route map. Option D. Add this statement to the route map. Route map room OSPF DL deny 20. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Change sequence 10 in the route map command from permit to deny. Question 7. What is a prerequisite for configuring BFD? Option A. Jumbo frame support must be configured on the router that is using BFD. Option B. All routers in the path between two BFD endpoints must have BFD enabled. Option C. Cisco Express forwarding must be enabled on all participating BFD endpoints. Option D. To use BFD with BGP, the timers 39 command must first be configured in the BGP routing process. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Cisco Express forwarding must be enabled on all participating BFD endpoints. Question 8. Refer to the exhibit. R2 is a route reflector, and R1 and R3 are route reflector clients. The route reflector learns the route to 172.16.25.024 from R1, but it does not advertise to R3. What is the reason the route is not advertised? Option A. R2 does not have a route to the next hop, so R2 does not advertise the prefix to other clients. Option B. Route reflector setup requires full IBGP mesh between the routers. Option C. In route reflector setup, only classful prefixes are advertised to other clients. Option D. In route reflector setups, prefixes are not advertised from one client to another. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. R2 does not have a route to the next hop, so R2 does not advertise the prefix to other clients. Question 9. Refer to the exhibit. An engineer is trying to redistribute OSPF to BGP, but not all of the routes are redistributed. What is the reason for this issue? Option A. By default, only internal routes and external Type 1 routes are redistributed into BGP. Option B. Only classful networks are redistributed from OSPF to BGP. Option C. BGP convergence is slow, so the route will eventually be present in the BGP table. Option D. By default, only internal OSPF routes are redistributed into BGP. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. By default, only internal OSPF routes are redistributed into BGP. Question 10. Refer to the exhibit. In which circumstance does the BGP neighbor remain in the idle condition? Option A. If prefixes are not received from the BGP peer. Option B. If prefixes reach the maximum limit. Option C. If a prefix list is applied on the inbound direction. Option D. If prefixes exceed the maximum limit. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. If prefixes exceed the maximum limit. Question 11. Which attribute eliminates LFAs that belong to protected paths in situations where links in a network are connected through a common fiber? Option A. Shared risk link group disjoint. Option B. Line card disjoint. Option C. Lowest repair path metric. Option D. Interface disjoint. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Shared risk link group disjoint. Question 12. Refer to the exhibit. An engineer is troubleshooting BGP on a device but discovers that the clock on the device does not correspond to the timestamp of the log entries. Which action ensures consistency between the two times? Option A. Configure the service timestamps log uptime command in global configuration mode. Option B. Configure the logging clock synchronize command in global configuration mode. Option C. Configure the service timestamps log datetime local time command in global configuration mode. Option D. Make sure that the clock on the device is synchronized with an NTP server. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Configure the service timestamps log datetime local time command in global configuration mode. Question 13. Refer to the exhibit. What is the result of applying this configuration? Option A. The router can form BGP neighborships with any other device. Option B. The router cannot form BGP neighborships with any other device. Option C. The router cannot form BGP neighborships with any device that is matched by the access list named BGP. Option D. The router can form BGP neighborships with any device that is matched by the access list named BGP. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. The router cannot form BGP neighborships with any device that is matched by the access list named BGP. Question 14. Which command displays the IP routing table information that is associated with VRF Lite? Option A. Show IP VRF. Option B. Show IP route VRF. Option C. Show run VRF. Option D. Show IP protocols VRF. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Show IP route VRF. Question 15. Refer to the exhibit. Which subnet is redistributed from EIGRP to OSPF routing protocols? Option A. 10, 2, 2, 0 24. Option B. 10, 1, 4, 0 26. Option C. 10, 1, 2, 0 24. Option D. 10, 2, 3, 0 26. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. 10.2.2.0/24. Question 16. Which configuration adds an IPv4 interface to an OSPF v3 process in OSPF v3 address family? Configuration. Option A. Router OSPF v3 1 address family IPv4. Option B. Router. Config router. #OSPF v3 1 IPv4 area 0. Option C. Router. Config if. #OSPF v3 1 IPv4 area 0. Option D. Router OSPF v3 1 address family IPv4 unicast. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Router. Config if. #OSPF v3 1 IPv4 area 0. Question 17. Refer to the exhibit. Which statement about R1 is true? Option A. OSPF redistributes RIP routes only if they have a tag of 1. Option B. RIP learned routes are distributed to OSPF with a tag value of 1. Option C. R1 adds 1 to the metric for RIP learned routes before redistributing to OSPF. Option D. RIP routes are redistributed to OSPF without any changes. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. RIP learned routes are distributed to OSPF with a tag value of 1. Question 18. Refer to the exhibit. An IP SLA was configured on router R1 that allows the default route to be modified in the event that FA0/0 loses reachability with the router R3 FA0/0 interface. The route has changed to flow through router R2. Which debug command is used to troubleshoot this issue? Option A. Debug IP flow. Option B. Debug IP SLA error. Option C. Debug IP routing. Option D. Debug IP packet. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Debug IP routing. Question 19. Which configuration enables the VRF that is labeled "INET" on fast Ethernet 0/0? Option A. R1. Config #IPVRF INET R1. Config VRF #IPVRF fast Ethernet 0/0. Option B. R1. Config #IPVRF INET fast Ethernet 0/0. Option C. R1. Config #IPVRF INET R1. Config VRF #interface fast Ethernet 0/0 R1. Config if #IPVRF forwarding INET. Option D. R1. Config #router OSPF1 VRF INET R1. Config router #IPVRF forwarding fast Ethernet 0/0. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. R1. Config #IPVRF INET R1. Config VRF #interface fast Ethernet 0/0 R1. Config if #IPVRF forwarding INET. Question 20. Refer to the exhibit. After redistribution is enabled between the routing protocols, PC2, PC3, and PC4 cannot reach PC1. Which action can the engineer take to solve the issue so that all the PCs are reachable? Option A. Set the administrative distance 100 under the RIP process on R2. Option B. Filter the prefix 10, 1, 1, 0/24 when redistributed from OSPF to EIGRP. Option C. Filter the prefix 10, 1, 1, 0/24 when redistributed from RIP to EIGRP. Option D. Redistribute the directly connected interfaces on R2. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Set the administrative distance 100 under the RIP process on R2. Question 21. Refer to the exhibit. A router is receiving BGP routing updates from multiple neighbors for routes in AS690. What is the reason that the router still sends traffic that is destined to AS690 to a neighbor other than 10.222.1.1? Option A. The local preference value in another neighbor statement is higher than 250. Option B. The local preference value should be set to the same value as the weight in the route map. Option C. The route map is applied in the wrong direction. Option D. The weight value in another neighbor statement is higher than 200. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. The weight value in another neighbor statement is higher than 200. Question 22. Refer to the exhibit. R1 and R2 cannot establish an EIGRP adjacency. Which action establishes EIGRP adjacency? Option A. Remove the current autonomous system number on one of the routers and change to a different value. Option B. Add the passive interface command to the R1 configuration so that it matches the R2 configuration. Option C. Remove the passive interface command from the R2 configuration so that it matches the R1 configuration. Option D. Add the no auto summary command to the R2 configuration so that it matches the R1 configuration. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Remove the passive interface command from the R2 configuration so that it matches the R1 configuration. Question 23. An engineer configured policy-based routing for a destination IP address that does not exist in the routing table. How is the packet treated through the policy for configuring the set IP default next hop command? Option A. Packets are not forwarded to the specific next hop. Option B. Packets are forwarded based on the routing table. Option C. Packets are forwarded based on a static route. Option D. Packets are forwarded to the specific next hop. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Packets are forwarded to the specific next hop. Question 24. Refer to the exhibit. The administrator configured route advertisement to a remote low resources router to use only the default route to reach any network but failed. Which action resolves this issue? Option A. Remove the prefix keyword from the distribute list command. Option B. Remove the line with the sequence number 10 from the prefix list. Option C. Change the direction of the distribute list command from out to in. Option D. Remove the line with the sequence number 5 from the prefix list. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Remove the line with the sequence number 5 from the prefix list. Question 25. Refer to the exhibit. The network administrator configured the branch router for IPv6 on the A0 over 0 interface. The neighboring router is fully configured to meet requirements, but the neighbor relationship is not coming up. Which action fixes the problem on the branch router to bring the IPv6 neighbors up? Option A. Disable OSPF for IPv4 using the no OSPF v34 area 0 IPv4 command under the A0 over 0 interface. Option B. Enable the IPv4 address family under the router OSPF v34 process by using the address family IPv4 unicast command. Option C. Disable IPv6 on the A0 over 0 interface using the no IPv6 enable command. Option D. Enable the IPv4 address family under the A0 over 0 interface by using the address family IPv4 unicast command. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Enable the IPv4 address family under the router OSPF v34 process by using the address family IPv4 unicast command. Question 26. Refer to the exhibit. R2 has two paths to reach 192. 168. 13. 024. But traffic is sent only through R3. Which action allows traffic to use both paths? Option A. Configure the variance 4 command under the EIGRP process on R2. Option B. Configure the bandwidth 2000 command under interface fast Ethernet 0 over 0 on R2. Option C. Configure the delay 1 command under interface fast Ethernet 0 over 0 on R2. Option D. Configure the variance 2 command under the EIGRP process on R2. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option A. Configure the variance 4 command under the EIGRP process on R2. Question 27. Refer to the exhibit. The OSPF neighbor relationship is not coming up. What must be configured to restore OSPF neighbor adjacency? Option A. Matching hello timers. Option B. OSPF on the remote router. Option C. Use router ID. Option D. Matching MTU values. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Matching MTU values. Question 28. An engineer configured two routers connected to two different service providers using BGP with default attributes. One of the links is presenting high delay, which causes slowness in the network. Which BGP attribute must the engineer configure to avoid using the high delay ISP link if the second ISP link is up? Option A, AS path. Option B, wait. Option C, med. Option D, LOCALPREF. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, LOCALPREF. Question 29. Refer to the exhibit. A network administrator redistributed the default static route into OSPF toward all internal routers to reach to Internet. Which set of commands restores reachability to the Internet by internal routers? Option A. Router OSPF1 redistribute static subnets. Option B. Router OSPF1 network 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 area 0. Option C. Router OSPF1 redistribute connected 0, 0, 0, 0. Option D. Router OSPF1 default information originate. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D, router OSPF1 default information originate. Question 30. Refer to the exhibit. The Math and Science departments connect through the corporate IT router. But users in the Math department must not be able to reach the Science department and vice versa. Which configuration accomplishes this task? Option A. VRF definition Science address family IPv4. Interface A0 halves IP address 168.1.1255.255.255.0 no shut. Interface A0 thirds IP address 168.2.1255.255.0 no shut. Option B. VRF definition Science address family IPv4. Interface A0 halves VRF forwarding Science IP address 168.1.1255.255.255.0 no shut. Interface A0 thirds VRF forwarding Science IP address 168.2.1.255.255.255.0 no shut. Option C. VRF definition Science address family IPv4. Interface A0 halves IP address 168.1.1255.255.255.0 VRF forwarding Science no shut. Interface A0 thirds IP address 168.2.1.255.255.255.0 VRF forwarding Science no shut. Option D. VRF definition Science. Interface A0 halves IP address 168.1.1255.255.255.0 no shut. Interface A0 thirds IP address 168.2.1.255.255.255.0 no shut. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. VRF definition Science address family IPv4. Interface A0 halves VRF forwarding Science IP address 168.1.1255.255.255.0 no shut. Interface A0 thirds VRF forwarding Science IP address 192.168.2.1.1255.255.0 2. 1255. 255. 255. 0 no shut. Question 31. Refer to the exhibit. The neighbor relationship is not coming up. Which two configurations bring the adjacency up? Choose 2. Option A. LE interface A0 over 0 IPOSPF authentication key Cisco 123. Option B. NY interface A0 over 0 no IPOSPF message digest key 1MD5 Cisco 123 IPOSPF authentication key Cisco 123. Option C. LE interface A0 over 0 IPOSPF message digest key 1MD5 Cisco 123. Option D. LA router OSPF 1 area 0 authentication message digest. Option A. NY router OSPF 1 area 0 authentication message digest. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. LE interface A0 over 0 IPOSPF message digest key 1MD5 Cisco 123. Option D. LA router OSPF 1 area 0 authentication message digest. Question 32. Refer to the exhibit. The network administrator configured redistribution on an ASBR to reach to all WAN networks but failed. Which action resolves the issue? Option A. The route map EIGRP to OSPF must have the 10. 0. 106. 024 entry to exist in one of the three prefix lists to pass. Option B. EIGRP must redistribute the 10. 0. 106. 024 route instead of using the network statement. Option C. The OSPF process must have a metric when redistributing prefixes from EIGRP. Option D. The route map must have the keyword prefix list to evaluate the prefix list entries. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. The route map must have the keyword prefix list to evaluate the prefix list entries. Question 33. Refer to the exhibit. An engineer configured R2 and R5 as route reflectors and noticed that not all routes are sent to R1 to advertise to the eBGP peers. Which iBGP routers must be configured as route reflectors to advertise all routes to restore reachability across all networks? Option A. R1 and R4. Option B. R1 and R5. Option C. R4 and R5. Option D. R2 and R5. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. R4 and R5. Question 34. Refer to the exhibits. San Francisco and Boston routers are choosing slower links to reach each other despite the direct links being up. Which configuration fixes the issue? Option A. All routers router OSPF 1 auto cost reference bandwidth 100. Option B. San Francisco router OSPF 1 auto cost reference bandwidth 1000. Option C. Boston router OSPF 1 auto cost reference bandwidth 1000. Option D. All routers router OSPF 1 auto cost reference bandwidth 1000. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. All routers router OSPF 1 auto cost reference bandwidth 1000. Question 35. Refer to the exhibit. Troubleshoot and ensure that branch only ever uses the MPLS network to reach HQ. Which action achieves this requirement? Option A. Introduce AS path prepending on the branch MPLS network connection so that any HQ advertisements from branch A toward the MPLS network are prepended 3 times. Option B. Modify the weight of all HQ prefixes received at branch from the MPLS network to be higher than the weights used on the MPLS A network. Option C. Increase the local preference for all HQ prefixes received at branch from the MPLS network to be higher than the local preferences used on the MPLS-A network. Option D. Introduce an AS path filter on branch routers so that only local prefixes are advertised into BGP. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option D. Introduce an AS path filter on branch routers so that only local prefixes are advertised into BGP. Question 36. Refer to the exhibit. The OSPF routing protocol is redistributed into the BGP routing protocol. But not all the OSPF routes are distributed into BGP. Which action resolves the issue? Option A. Include the word external in the redistribute command. Option B. Use a route map command to redistribute OSPF external routes defined in an access list. Option C. Include the word internal external in the redistribute command. Option D. Use a route map command to redistribute OSPF external routes defined in a prefix list. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Include the word internal external in the redistribute command. Question 37. Refer to the exhibit. Routing protocols are mutually redistributed on R3 and R1. Users report intermittent connectivity to services hosted on the 10.1.1.024 prefix. Significant routing update changes are noticed on R3 when the show IP route profile command is run. How must the services be stabilized? Option A. The routing loop must be fixed by reducing the admin distance of OSPF from 110 to 80 on R3. Option B. The routing loop must be fixed by reducing the admin distance of IBGP from 200 to 100 on R3. Option C. The issue with using BGP must be resolved by using another protocol and redistributing it into EIGRP on R3. Option D. The issue with using IBGP must be fixed by running eBGP between R3 and R4. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. The routing loop must be fixed by reducing the admin distance of IBGP from 200 to 100 on R3. Question 38. When determining if a system is capable of support, what is the minimum time spacing required for a BFD control packet to receive once a control packet is arrived? Option A. Desired min access interval. Option B. Detect mult. Option C. Required min Rx interval. Option D. Required min echo Rx interval. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option C. Required min Rx interval. Question 39. An engineer is configuring the network and needs packets to be forwarded to an interface for any destination address that is not in the routing table. What should be configured to accomplish this task? Option A. Set IP next hop. Option B. Set IP default next hop. Option C. Set IP next hop recursive. Option D. Set IP next hop verify availability. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option B. Set IP default next hop. Question 40. What is an advantage of using BFD? Option A. It detects local link failure at layer 1 and updates the routing table. Option B. It detects local link failure at layer 3 and updates the routing protocols. Option C. It has sub-second failure detection for layer 1 and layer 3 problems. Option D. It has sub-second failure detection for layer 1 and layer 2 problems. Choose the correct answer. Correct answer is option undefined. Option B. It detects local link failure at layer 3 and updates the routing protocols.